Welcome to Beyond the Next Chapter. I am your host, Whitney Clark. And boy, just in time for Valentine's Day, we are in for a real treat. I'm joined today by Tessa Bailey. She's a New York Times best-selling author who's one of the most popular authors in the romance world. If you don't recognize her name, you likely recognize her books and the covers of her books. She's out with a steamy new book called Dream Girl Drama. So Tess, thank you so much for joining the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
So let's talk a little bit about Dream Girl Drama and what our listeners and readers can expect.
Dream Girl Drama it's a book about two people who sort of had this chance encounter one night. His car breaks down. He goes into a country club to use the phone, and he meets this kind of manic pixie dream girl, and they have this incredible connection. And then later that night, they go their separate ways because they have plans, and then they end up showing up at the same dinner and finding out their parents are engaged to be married.
So a little step sibling sort of love trope. In the acknowledgments, you kind of call it a verging on taboo story. But why was it something you really wanted to take on?
It wasn't supposed to be a book. Honestly, I was writing the book that came previous in the series. And once these two characters came onto the page and I saw the chemistry they had together, it really almost shocked me. I emailed my editor and I said, I think this series might need an extra book somewhere because these two, this hockey player and this harp prodigy, they're just they are obviously, gravitating towards each other, and I have to pursue it. So I ended up adding a whole separate book just for these two characters.
And this is the third book in the Big Shot series. Sig is a hockey player. Chloe, as you mentioned, plays the harp. Those are just two very romantic and attractive professions. Why did you choose those two sort of hobbies, interest, professions for them?
Well, the hockey player profession, I mean, it kind of comes this is the sports series. In the previous book, we meet Burgess, who is sort of the captain of the hockey team. And then I met his whole team, all of his teammates showed up, and they were all so interesting. And so I wanted to keep the hockey atmosphere alive. It's such an interesting, rich atmosphere. They're sort of rough and gruff with hearts of gold. And I think that everybody wants that in a romance hero. And then the harp prodigy, I'm not really sure where that came from. I was in Boston and I was walking past the Berklee School of Music, and weird things just pop in my head out of nowhere. These ideas for stories. And like you said, it is a really romantic profession. And it just kind of worked with Chloe's sort of ethereal demeanor.
The acknowledgments tend to be sort of my favorite part of a book because you really get a chance to see sort of, what authors were thinking. And in the acknowledgments here, without giving anything away, because we don't like to give spoilers, you talk about a certain defenseman on the Red Wings making eye contact with you during a game that helped inspire this. So I think we're going to need a story time there.
So I live right around the corner from UBS Arena, which is where the New York Islanders play. And I went randomly one night to a game where the Islanders were playing the Red Wings. And yes, I made eye contact with this player, number 8 on the Red Wings, Ben Chirot. I think I'm pronouncing that right. So I thought I was really special. And then I come to find out that all these other readers have also had eye contact with this player.
Oh my gosh,
so I'm not special at all. He doesn't care that I, based a book on him.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny. How did you find that out? Just from online, like Reddit, something like that?
No, they were tagging me in posts where they were at the games, and they were like, oh my gosh, he made eye contact with me as well. And I'm going this guy's we're probably all sitting there on the sidelines staring at this guy, and he's probably looking back going, what do they want from me? It's probably not him, it's us.
That is so funny. So your books kind of are known for being, on the spicy side. 1 to 10, how would you rank this book? 10 being the most spicy, 1 being not so much.
Well, if you've never read a romance novel, it's going to be a 10. But if you're sort of someone who reads romance on a regular basis, I'm putting it somewhere like a 7. I definitely don't close the doors, and it's definitely, descriptive during those intimate moments. But I don't feel like it goes towards anything that might be uncomfortable for someone who normally reads romance. It's just it's a happy celebration of their relationship and connection.
Mm-hmm. Romance books are, the best-selling genre from what I understand, and your books are hugely popular. What is it about romance books that you think really resonate with so many readers?
I think it's a lot of things, but I think what it comes down to is reliability. We live in a world that's so unreliable, and every day there's a new challenge, and we never know what's coming our way. But romance is something that is so dependable. We know there's going to be a happily ever after. The story's going to change, and there's the obstacles in the book, and the characters will be different each time. But we always know there's going to be a safe landing. And I think for women, that's really important to be able to read a story and count on it and know it's never going to let them down. It's just like it also allows us to feel more knowing that we're going to have a safe landing. So I think it's an addictive thing, these romance novels. And it's beautiful that that we can have this device that allows us to sort of let our feelings go run as hot or cold or wild as they're going to, but ultimately that we're going to feel peace at the end of it. It's important.
I think that's a really good point. And even though you read these books knowing and hoping that's the outcome, I was still reading your book being like, oh my gosh, how are they going to make this work? And there is sort of a twist at the end, which again, we will not reveal what that is. You'll have to read it, but it really kept me reading till the end. I was like, how are they going to end up together? How is it difficult for you to get these characters out of these situations? Like, how long does it take for you to come up with these plot lines?
There's always a way, you know. Um, Sometimes I do go into a book and I don't really know what the resolution is going to be, and sometimes my characters guide me towards it, or in learning them and kind of like putting them in different situations, the ending or like a resolution will present itself, even one that I didn't have in mind going in. But no, it's fresh and new every single time. I know that like it's people kind of have this misconception that all romance novels are the same, but the path to the end is always a winding
Mm.
one with different obstacles, and it's like it feels like you're reading it's like feels like an old friend, but that old friend has exciting news every single time you sit down with them. So that's what a romance novel is in a nutshell.
It's so true. That's such a good analogy. And Sig is such a unique sort of character. He's like this manly guy. He's a hockey player. They kind of describe him as this just like big, gruff, sort of man, sort of as you mentioned. But he calls Chloe like his dream girl from the very beginning. Tell me a little bit about Sig in particular and what women will love about him when they read this.
Sig shows up. I think that's what like everybody comes to romance novels for a different reason. But I think ultimately, deep down, it's about the fact that these heroes listen. And I think that that's something that really women want in real life, and maybe uh, it tends to be a little lacking, like in your everyday relationships. And so um, these heroes listen. They listen to every single word that comes out of the heroine's mouth. They're asking them, what are you thinking? They want to know the thoughts that are in their significant other's head. And when they find out, the preferences and their dislikes and dislikes and their feelings on things, they incorporate it into their behavior. And they really become the man that that this woman needs. And I think that that's ultimately what keeps me coming back. I want to watch this character sort of adapt himself to the needs of the person he loves. And I think that's the most romantic thing of all. And Sig definitely does that. She needs, and he shows up. She needs someone to help her walk her dog at 5 a.m. He shows up at 5 a.m. She needs a floorboard fixed. He fixes the floorboard. It's like, these are things that we know we can do ourselves as women, but it's nice to have someone that you can care for if you need to lean on them. And that's what Sig is. He's just this like, he's going to keep coming back every single time, and he's going to be just steadfast.
Yeah. I know you've been married for 20 years or nearly 20 years. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think 17.
Oh, 17.
Like
Okay.
18 this
18
year.
this year. What, I mean, do you have any, what kind of conversations do you have with your husband about your books? How does that go? Does any of it sort of spill over from your professional life to personal life?
He just started reading them last year. So I joked that like I had to write a book about golf in order for him to like care enough to read it. So he read a book called Fangirl Down, and now he's on his third book of mine.
Wow.
He's a slow reader, but he does like a chapter a day. And he was so shocked. Like he was like, he's like, I don't understand like there's more than just, hanky panky going on in here. There's an actual plot. Like these characters have so much like in their past that, was affecting their present. And I think he was surprised how intricate the plot was. He was expecting more of just like they show up and they have like a silly coffee date and somebody trips and then it's
Yeah.
there's a kiss and it's over.
Yeah.
So he was really pleasantly surprised to feel invested in the characters. And that was like really heartening for me that he not only related to the heroes, but cared about them, cared about where this story was going to end up.
And there
And yeah, go ahead.
and there is depth to these characters and their stories, and they have sort of issues with their parents, and I think that rings true for so many of us. I mean, everyone has some sort of family drama or some secret or something that their parents don't tell them, or miscommunications of some kind, which I do think a lot of, like I said, readers relate to.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, there's parents issues. There's issues with toxic friendships. I mean, I'm just looking at all my books over there on the shelf, and I'm listing all the secondary plot issues there are. There's professional obstacles in their way. There's so much going on that we can relate to. We can find a way in as the reader in order to understand these characters better, even if they're completely different than us, and that's, I think, another great part of romance is when you walk a mile in a different person's shoes, you can feel more, it breeds empathy within us. And so when we're reading about characters that live in a different world than us, I mean, it helps us understand each other better as people. And I think just another wonderful part of reading romance.
Tell me about really what stands out to you when it comes to Chloe, and how Chloe's character might be different than some of the other heroines in your books.
She's so some of my heroines are like incredibly tough. They're tough. They know exactly what they want. They've got a plan. Chloe doesn't really have a plan. She's a rich girl. She's had everything planned for her since the beginning. She's told where to go. She's told how to get there and what she needs to do. So she hasn't really been able to like think and live for herself, and she doesn't think she's capable of it. And it takes not the hero coming in and fixing her, but encouraging her to kind of look and see what her capabilities are and see if she's capable of more, and encouraging her and telling her she is capable of it, and giving her that boost she needs to sort of understand that she has a lot more to offer than she realized. And that's actually my favorite kind of heroine to write, is a heroine who's underestimated.
Mhm.
I love to write a heroine who everybody has sort of written off as vapid or, like needs to be taken care of or not a serious person. And then she comes in and just blows everybody away. That's the kind of heroine I like to write. I like to write like a really steep arc.
And she's not perfect, but none of us are. And I think that's what makes her so endearing, is that, as you mentioned, she comes from this background, but there's something about her that is just so lovable, I found.
Thank you. Yeah, she's lovable. She's like I said earlier, she has this manic pixie dream girl energy of like, you never know what's going to come out of her mouth. She might be baking you a birthday cake, even though she can't bake, or she's adopting a dog nowhere. You just never know what she's going to do next. And the fact that he loves those things about her and loves her spontaneity, it's just like it's kind of a match made in heaven.
You have been described, again, this was in the acknowledgments, which can be the best part of the book, so please do not skip them. You have been described as the Michelangelo of dirty talk. I think that was Entertainment Weekly or something like
Yeah.
that. Is it is it difficult to live up to that title?
Sometimes I do feel a little bit like pressured to yeah, to live up to that title. That being said, that kind of dialogue comes really naturally to me. So when I'm writing a scene that's like intimate or spicy, I will naturally write the hero's very blunt thoughts on the page. And I think that's something that's so like that comes down to this communication we're looking for in romance, you know, and we in those intimate moments not having to wonder what is he thinking, what does he say, like what am I doing, what does he think about me and how I look and what I, you know, everything about me. He's just saying it and he's praising you, and there's something that's so uh just like raw and honest in those moments because the filters are gone. We're not, there's no pretense. It's very uh it's just exciting to not have to wonder what the other person is thinking. And I think that's why I like writing dirty talk so much because it's it's just like raw, unfiltered thoughts, which we rarely get in real life. So
Yeah. I think we can all have discussions with our spouses after this book about, hey, you know what? Maybe ask what I'm thinking or whatsoever. But I mean, you're right. The bigger message really is someone listening to you, someone showing up, and it's something that Sig does for Chloe when she's not even expecting it, but of course is sort of hoping for it. So you sort of have this like step sibling trope. Are there any tropes you have not taken on that you really enjoy or any that you enjoy reading when you're doing your own reading?
the only trope I haven't written is amnesia, believe it
Oh,
or not. I actually like I've gone through all the tropes. Even like Secret Baby is one I don't generally gravitate towards. Like it's something I just don't really like. It's just not my first inclination to write a Secret Baby book. Uh, but amnesia is one that's such a challenge because the thought of your loved one losing all of their memories of you, I just like that's such a the impact of even thinking about that is like I write happy books, so that would be difficult. And but I still like I'm holding out for the right moment to pull out an idea that I have for amnesia. It's probably going to involve a hockey puck to the head. I
yeah.
don't know. We'll
Oh,
see.
that would make sense, and that could be
Right?
in the Big Shot series. Do you have one that you love that's your favorite?
I do. I do. So it used to be anything like step, like not step. It used to be anything like best friend sister, like something forbidden, like oh, like they're off limits, you know, anything forbidden like that. But lately, the older I get, the more I want like pining and unrequited love. And so I find like books where she's been in love with him for like X amount of years and he has no idea, and then he finds out. Just like that moment, I'm like, I could write a whole book around that moment.
I love that. I love that. I also love second chance romance. Those kind of I love those because that's kind of sort of similar to the unrequited love. It's like they couldn't be together and then they meet later in life. Those ones I just think can be so lovely.
Yeah, and they gotta work through all the like whatever happened, like
Yeah.
whatever drove them apart, and they're different people now, and they have to relearn each other, but there's still that spark, and it's just that there is something so just romantic about
Yeah.
second chances.
I know we're talking about dream girl drama today, but what is next for you? I mean, are you already writing your next book? Do you already have sort of a plot you've worked up?
I so the next book after Dream Girl Drama is called Picture Perfect, and it's going to be releasing in September. It's
Wow.
a it's a continuation of the Big Shot series. So it's more sports, but we have um the athlete is now is a lady. She's a Division I softball pitcher, and she her love interest is one of the hockey players from the Bearcats that you've met in the previous books. So they kind of have this situation where she's in love with another man, and so he's gonna fake date her in order to like fool this other guy into like getting jealous, but they end up falling for each other instead. So we like to call that a bait and switch
I
or
love
fake dating.
I love that for us, and that we get a female athlete. And in Dream Girl drama, there's some really strong female characters in leadership roles without giving anything away. Why is it so important for you to include that in your novels?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it should be included everywhere. Women should always be in a place where important decisions are being made. I think Ruth Bader Ginsburg said that. And yeah, the more I'm seeing like female athletes having this moment, like Caitlin Clark and like Simone Biles, and I mean, just all these female athletes just in their just having this like moment of recognition. Like the public is finally going like, these women are so incredibly talented and deserve as much attention as the men as you know the men in sports. And seeing them have that moment really inspired me to want to write this pitcher who sort of is at the top of her game and has a plan and knows what her path is and isn't expecting to have this like kind of fall in love with this like irreverent sort of guy who wears an orgasm donor sweatshirt.
Uh,
Yeah.
Speaking of that, there are some, I'm guessing, again, without giving too much away, there's going to be some crossover in terms of the characters from this book to that next one.
Yeah, you'll meet the characters, and you're kind of probably easily know by the end of the book who is going to be the next couple. So once you read Dream Girl drama, you'll know who the characters are and picture perfect.
I love that. And it's in my head. I know who they are. Again, I won't give that away, but I love that those two are going to have their moment. Do you think people need to read all the books in the series to get caught up, or do you think these are good standalones?
I think they can be read out of order. I don't think you're going to miss anything. You might miss like a bit of weaving in. Like I'll always have to weave in and tease like a couple, to let people know what's coming up. But it's never like a vital moment that is going to make or break you understanding their actual book. But I do find like people when they read a book and then a couple catches their interest, they'll want to go back and read it. So it's okay to read them out of order, but if you want to read in order, you'll catch all the initial meetings before you read the story.
Okay. So I know you're going to be coming to Phoenix soon as a part of your book tour, which will be the first time you're visiting Arizona, which is so exciting for all of your readers here, an event with changing hands, and we'll have the details up on our website, azfamily.com for that. What is it like for you to meet your readers in person?
Honestly, it's the best part of this job. I've never had anything but the most wonderful experiences meeting romance readers. It's everybody is full of joy. Everybody makes friends in line. It's just like a romance signing. I always encourage people to come because even if you're by yourself, you will leave with friends. You'll leave feeling like you're part of a community. Everybody is recommending books to each other in line or in the audience. And you just show up and you already have this thing in common with everybody. And readers have this thing in common with me. And because of the intimate nature of my books, it's like an immediate comfort level that like we feel like everybody that approaches my table for this at a signing, I feel like we're already friends. Like we've already, we've been through like 90 sex scenes together. So like there's no tension. It's just very relaxed. They can say anything they want to me. And it feels like I leave with more friends than I showed up with. So I can't say enough good things about romance book signings or romance readers in general. They're just the most empathetic, wonderful bunch of people there is.
It's like the Eras Tour. It's like your book events.
That's exactly what it feels like. It feels like, and you should see the amount of friendship bracelets I have from book signings.
Oh my
it's really
gosh.
become a thing, inspired by Taylor, but everybody gives me romance novels with like my character
Oh my
names.
God, that's so cute.
Yeah, I have like a whole stack. I wish I had it in front of me.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Great atmosphere.
Before we go, do you have anything else that you want to add that I haven't asked that you think is important about Dream Girl drama or really any of your books?
I I don't know. I guess I could say, I mean, if you've already read me or you already read romance, there's not much else I can say. You know how wonderful they are. But if you're not a romance reader and you're still on the fence, you should give it a try. I think romance has really taken a different shape in the last just since I started. I mean, 13 years ago, it feels like the genre has just shaped itself into this wonderful, ever-changing thing where there are real life problems in these books. There's sickness and there's like, loss and there's also triumphs and romantic moments. And it's very true to life. And I think people trying it for the first time are always really pleasantly surprised and they understand what the addiction is. So if you haven't tried them, I would say just give it a shot. Give it a shot.
What would be your recommendation for like your books? Like where should people start if they're new to you?
I would always say start with the first in a series, because the first book in a series will give you an idea if you want to continue with the rest of it, because each series does have a little bit of a different flavor. So I have two books that I'd say are my top two, Fangirl Down and It Happened One Summer, I'd say are probably my two favorite books that I've written, and they're both the beginning of a series. So
Great. Tessa, well, thank you so much for joining us and enjoy your trip to Phoenix and congratulations on your new book and the other one that's coming out this year as well.